Hello again, everyone, and welcome to this video on pulling data from the Chicago data portal. So I think I'm going to run through how to pull the data, then maybe do a tirade on why I don't really like the Chicago data portal necessarily, even though it has great data, and then maybe throw out some project ideas or ways you can move forward with this data. That's how it's going to work in my head, but we'll see. So with that out of the way, let's jump right in. So to get to the Chicago data portal, I believe it's just data.chicago.org. Maybe it's .com. I swear I was just there. Chicago data portal. Or you can just Google it. Oh, data.cityofchicago.org. Okay. So this part's pretty straightforward. You just need to go to the sign in and sign up. Email address, display name, password, all the usual. And then once you have a login, you can, then sign in. I'm going to flip over here. And here I am signed in. And I think that should be big enough. Let me make it a little bigger. Okay. So first of all, finding the data. There's quite a bit of cool data in here. The two that I've really messed with are the crime data and 311 data. And if you're not familiar, 311 is just a non-emergency number. You can call to report bad streets, or if you have a lot of rats around your apartment or house. But pretty nifty stuff to dig into. So there's a search button up here, and if I just do crime data 2001 to the present, and okay, there's featured content using this data, downloads, because yes, people download it because the API is almost, it's very cryptic, I would say almost unusable. About a year ago, I made a video showing how to pull this data using the curl command in your app token that you can generate. Since that time, I've kind of figured out the quirks and how to use it. I'll post a link to that video down in the description. But to pull the data using Python, it's beyond confusing. But let's walk through how to do it, save you some pain there. So if we go to Actions and API and API documentation, okay. Now if we scroll down here, it talks a little bit about the app tokens which you'll need. So we'll get to that in a moment. If you keep scrolling down, you have different code snippets showing how to pull this data. And actually, I'm going to go ahead and copy the Python example. And you will need pandas and Sodapy installed. Yeah, so as long as you have those pip installed in your Python environment, you'll be good. So I already have a notebook set up here. And actually, I'm going to replace this just so we're starting from scratch a little bit. So you can kind of get a feel for it, kind of see the pain I'm talking about here. So I'm going to move this import up with my other ones. And if you wanted to, you could just go ahead and execute this. Oh, I didn't run my imports. Okay, there we go. And so that should just take a few seconds there. And limit 2000. Oh. That's a little bit odd. but that does happen. So it's just saying I'm not using an app token, so I will be subject to strict throttling. So there you go, just meaning I can't make as many requests or pull as big of data without having an app token. So okay, if we look here, we have 2,000 results, and we can go ahead. Results. Oh, this is probably way too small. My apologies. Let me make that bigger. And let's do results. df.head. And then we can see kind of what we get here. So each reported or recorded crime by the, I'm guessing the Chicago Police Department, gets a case number, date, block, primary type, description, location description, arrest. And if we switch back here to the data itself, we can see all of these columns and kind of what that data is. Okay, so now if we want to pull more data, this is where it gets interesting, tricky, and confusing. All right, so we need three things. We need an app token, a username, and a password. This really still has me scratching my head because it's 2024. Typically, you get an API key, and that is your identification. That means this belongs to me, and I have a right to access the data. Why you would ask for a username and why you would ask for a password, and writing it into your code, hard-coded like this, makes very little sense to me. I might have a few tangents as we go through this, but I will try to keep them to a minimum. So here, actually just to demo this one more time, let's say I want 60,000 records. That might take a little bit longer to run, but it shouldn't be too bad. And just while that's running, this client.get, it's going to return the results in a list of dictionaries, and then the pd.dataframe.fromRecords simply takes all those dictionaries, looks at the key and the value, and takes all of the same keys and their values, and then that becomes a column. Hopefully that makes sense. If not, you can research it or just kind of wave your hand at it and, I don't know, call it magic. All right. Seems like that's taking a bit longer than I would have thought. There we go. Let's see what we have. Shape. And it did give us 60,000 records, which is very surprising. I have gotten different behavior before where it seems to limit me to 1,000. So that's, again, something that's a little confusing. Okay, so where do you get an app token? Well, again, it's not really apparent, and not really documented as far as I know. You just kind of got to feel around until you find it. But you want to click on your username once you have an account. Go to My Profile. Click on the pencil for your profile. I'll make this a little bigger. Developer settings. And if you scroll down here, I'm just going to delete these old ones. I'll make one for this video, and then delete it after. But there's no credit card associated with this, so I'm not really worried about somebody stealing it and making a billion requests, because it's not going to hit my wallet. It said there was already a project named Demo. Again, no idea what project is, but I just named this not Demo. Okay, so there's an app token and a secret token. If we spin back here and we go to the code examples, I have not come across a single place here. Oh, let's see. I have not seen a single one of these that uses the secret token. You can see app token, and this one doesn't ask for your username and password, which makes sense. Our Socrata, that one wants email and password. This one, app token. But I'm just kind of pointing out it's very confusing. All right, I will give it a rest for the moment, and we just need to copy that app token, comment out how this client is defined here, and we're going to use this client here. And even their example is kind of broken. You need to single quote these, put your app token in, and I've got a .env with my username and password defined, just because that is something I don't necessarily want to post here. I could update it, but might as well keep it secret. So the username I'm pulling from the .env file. If you're just doing your own project, go ahead and just, as long as you're not pushing it to GitHub or anything, you can just write it in there, put it in single quotes. And then if we take out the limit, well, that's going to take quite a while to run, because that's going to pull all of the data from 2001 until the present. I think there's a couple million, maybe, I forget, maybe it was 18 million, but anyway, let's scroll down here, and yes, so you can put a where clause in here, but it needs it in a very specific format. So I will post this down in the comments so you can simply reuse it. But I believe this is January 1st, 2024, and I'm just going to excuse me, print that out to confirm. So it needs it, trust me, in this precise format. And I'll go ahead and write this in here. And actually, just for, I don't know, this should speed it up a little bit. I'm going to make that June. So we are going to do June 1st through today, which is October 12th. And then we just need to do where equals, I believe that's it. We are going to make an F string so we can use our FOY, which stands for first of the year, but I guess it's not anymore, so that's fine. And where date, which if we go back to the documentation, we can see date and date when the incident occurred. So that is when the crime happened. And let's see where it's greater than or equal to. We do need a single quote here, FOY. Oh, I didn't run my .env. And if you're not familiar with getEnv, if you make a .env file, define your variables there, and then just from .env, load .env. You'll also need the OS package, but kind of a nifty way to get those secrets into your project. Okay, I have an error. All right, it looks like I didn't do that where clause right. I left an example down here I was working with earlier. I shouldn't need the limit. That all looks correct to me. Maybe because where equals. I'll try running it one more time. All right. I'm kind of curious how this is different, so I'm going to Control C. Does it want just a space there? Comment that out. SQL type mismatch. Type mismatch for OP $. Did I misspell date? I'm going to copy and paste this in, see if that resolves it. Okay, very odd. So, I'm trying. Oh, I did not put the brackets in. So it was saying where the date is greater than or equal to the characters FOY and not the actual date itself. So, okay, now we can run our head command again. And we can see our data here kind of starts at midnight on June 1st. And if we go ahead, we can see 1,000 records. So this is another quirk. The way I've found around this, again, very, very irritating to me. If I have an app token and a username and a password, you should give me the data. And again, I did not find this documented anywhere, but what I do is I go, okay, I want to limit it to 60 million, billion, whatever. Now let's try it. And you might get an error. I did run into that once or twice when I gave it a really big number. It was working fine and then didn't like that. I don't know if it's thinking that that is my actual request number and then it throttled me, but I dropped it down to another freakishly huge number, like 40 million, and it ran fine rather than whatever it was, 40 trillion. So that will take a moment to run. And now we have 93,479 records. Okay. And we can go ahead and go ahead on that. And other things I would like to point out here. This here identifies the dataset. If you are having any kind of condition here, that is specific to the dataset. So if you go to another dataset and it doesn't have a date column, it says maybe report date, you will need to update this value here. Actually, let me switch back, see if I can find a different data set that's actually pretty good. Go to the Chicago Data Portal home, and let's see. I am clicking this, but it is not coming up with the search. (311) service requests. And again, it is kind of nice. You can export and download the CSV file, but it's If you're watching this, it's probably because you're doing some kind of programming, and it's just more fun to interact with your data programmatically. So if we scroll down here, yeah, you can see this one has like created month, created day of week. So then you would want to update your where condition if you are filtering it or grabbing just certain data. That's how you would put those conditions in. Again, I found them really kind of hinky. You need to play around with them a little bit. And again, this would be the 311 dataset ID. So actually we can switch back here, scroll down to this example, and let's just grab 4,000 of these records. And we'll run that. Should have named that something different. Probably should have been descriptive like reported 311 DF, something like that. Oh yay, another error. Read timeout 10. All right. Just rerun it. Read timeout equals 10. Wonder if I could do there's a timeout in here. Actually, that'd probably be in the client. Let's see what this has. Well, finally some documentation. So timeout equals, I don't know, let's do 30. And while that's running, v6v ends in y, v6v ends in y. And I'm guessing this is going to hit 30 again and then timeout. Yeah. Let's see if they did anything special here. No. Looks like it's just kind of being finicky. So let's go ahead and finish up here. I will save my rant because I feel like I've ranted enough in this video. I think it's Socrata that does this data portal for the city of Chicago. And after looking around, it looks like they do it for other big cities like Seattle as well. I'm guessing they got a very large, very lucrative contract. And yes, they host the data. Yes, the data is available, but there's not really any incentive for them to make it good. I know there's kind of the unwritten rule. You usually don't criticize other people's programming or other entities because you don't know the struggles they face or, things like that. But in this case, if someone wants to correct me, please feel free to. I'm just a little flabbergasted at this one. Okay. That's it. I will try to stop now. All right, so we have our data. So great. Well, what if we just want to use it later? You can do to CSV, but a better way is to Parquet and shy crime data.parquet. So Parquet is just it's a columnar-based storage format that also compresses itself, so it's very small, very efficient. You can use that in Google BigQuery directly if you have it in a Google Cloud storage bucket. So it's just very nice. Probably the file format I use the most, aside from CSVs, because I do still use those. Okay. And let me just come down, get some space here. And so now we could do something like df equals pd.read. What do we want to read? Parquet. And the file we want to read is shy crime data, if I can type, Parquet. And we look, we do have the 93,479 records there, and we can check out the data is indeed there. One other thing though, to use Parquet, the 2 Parquet, I'm not sure if it still applies, but you may need to have pyarrow installed. And I'll give some version numbers here. So it looks like I have pyarrow 14.0.2 and a -hotfix.6. I'm not sure exactly what that hotfix is. And pandas 1.3.5. I will put these down in the description, so if you have any issues with the Parquet portion, if you go with these versions, you should be good. All right. So where to go from here? You could definitely do some interesting visualizations with this data. You could maybe do some machine learning and try to do predictions on the crime data. Not sure how successful something like that would be. You could enrich the data definitely with maybe economic data, news, kind of positive, negative news about Chicago. Let's see, maybe weather. That might be kind of cool. Also, ways you could run this. You could put it in a VM on AWS or GCP and put it in an orchestrator like Kestra or Airflow or Mage AI and have that run on a schedule. You could also do a cloud function that runs at a certain time every day, maybe puts it into a GCP bucket, and you could even make that, what are the popular formats these days, like a delta table or an iceberg table, where the Parquet files, it's kind of like a database but with files, and I'll actually list those down in the description. And who knows, maybe I'll make a video on that another time. But this is some really great data, super fun to play around with, great for projects. It just kind of reminds me of the Soup Nazi and Seinfeld. It's really great stuff, but you just have to kind of jump through some hoops and be ready to deal with some frustration when pulling it. So hopefully this saved you a lot of time and frustration that I went through trying to figure out how to pull it. Hopefully you enjoyed this video, and I will see you in another one.